Hey, cowpokes! I'm Miss Loretta, and I'm the Youth Services Librarian at the Cedar Grove Line Avenue branch of Shreve Memorial Library. And today's story time is going to be a lot of fun. It's a fractured Texas tale. And it may be a story that you're kind of familiar with, but it's been changed quite a bit, and it is a lot of fun. And after the story, we're going to make a big Texas-sized cowboy hat craft. So, listen to the story first, but stay for the craft.
Bubba, the Cowboy Prince, a fractured Texas tale. Written by Helen Ketteman. Illustrated by James Worla. And here's the dedication page where we find our cast of characters. There's Miss Lurleen, the fairy god cow, the wicked stepdaddy, Bubba, Dwayne, and Milton. Once, a strapping young feller named Bubba lived on a ranch with his wicked stepdaddy and his hateful and lazy stepbrothers, Dwayne and Milton. Bubba's stepdaddy spoiled Dwayne and Milton to no end, but Bubba worked from sun up to sundown, doing the chores of three ranch hands. Bubba never complained, though. He loved ranching. Dwayne and Milton spent their days sitting on horseback, bossing Bubba around. Get them doggies along there, Bubba, ordered Dwayne. Yeah, and watch out for them cow patties, added Milton. You know how Daddy hates for you to track up the house. Now, Miss Lurleen, who lived down the road a piece, was the purtiest and richest gal in the county. She owned the biggest spread west of the Brazos, and she loved ranching too. But it was lonesome work, and after a while she decided it was time for some companionship. I aim to find myself a feller, she said, one who loves ranching as much as I do, and it wouldn't hurt if he was cute as a cow's ear either. Miss Lurleen decided to throw a ball. She sent invitations to all the ranchers in Texas. Soon the day of the ball arrived. Milton and Dwayne spent all day getting gussied up in their finest duds. Bubba about ran hisself ragged waiting on them. Bubba, shouted Dwayne, fetch my bolo tie. Bubba, shouted Milton, get my boots polished. Bubba, shouted his wicked stepdaddy, brush them horses and wash that wagon. By the time Dwayne and Milton and their wicked stepdaddy were ready to go, Bubba was exhausted. Still, as they climbed into the wagon, Bubba asked, "Can't you wait for me to get ready? I want to dance with Miss Lurleen too." Dwayne and Milton and their wicked daddy hooted and hollered. "Why, you're sorrier than a deer in a stockyard," said Dwayne. "Can you imagine Miss Lurleen dancing with the likes of you?" said Milton. "Miss Lurleen wouldn't even wipe the dirt clods off her boots with that raggedy shirt of yours, and you smell more than the cattle do." Bubba took a look at himself. It was true. He didn't have a decent shirt to wear. His boots were downright disgraceful, and he did smell a bit rough. Milton and Dwayne were right. Miss Lurleen wouldn't dance with the likes of him. Bubba hung his head. He felt lower than a rattlesnake in a gully. Milton and Dwayne and their wicked daddy went on off to the ball. Bubba mounted his horse and headed for the pasture to check on the herd. The sky was getting darker than a black bull at midnight. It looked like a Texas thunderstorm was brewing. Bubba had just arrived at the cow pasture when a bolt of lightning struck, knocking him off his horse. Bubba was stunned for a moment, but when he picked himself up, he heard a voice. "Go to the ball, Bubba," said the voice. Bubba looked around. No one was there except him and the cows. Now Bubba figured he'd bonked the bejeebers out of his bean, 'cause the voice was coming from a cow. She chewed her cud for a moment, then said, "I'm your fairy god cow, and I can help you go to the ball." Bubba sat up, rubbing his head. "I'd like to go, Miss God Cow, but shoot, I don't have a thing to wear." The fairy godcow swished her tail, and Bubba's raggedy clothes changed into the handsomest cowboy duds he'd ever laid eyes on. His jeans were crisp, his boots were shiny, his shirt was dazzling, and his Stetson was whiter than a new salt lick. "Why, I look downright purty," said Bubba. The fairy godcow swished her tail again, and a nearby steer turned into the most beautiful white stallion Bubba had ever seen. "Now you go on off to the ball, Bubba, and have a good time dancing with Miss Lurleen. But you best be home by midnight, 'cause that's when the magic runs out." "Yahoo!" shouted Bubba as he jumped on the white horse and galloped off to the ball. When Bubba arrived, the hoedown was in full swing, but every time Miss Lurleen finished a dance, she yawned. "There goes another $10 Stetson on a 5-cent head," she complained. "Where are all the real cowboys?" By the time it was Bubba's turn to dance with Miss Lurleen, it was almost midnight. As soon as she saw Bubba, Miss Lurleen's eyes lit up. "Well, you're as cute as a cow's ear," she said. Bubba blushed, then took Miss Lurleen in his arms and started dancing. Dwayne and Milton turned purple with jealousy. "Who is that dude?" said Dwayne. "I don't recollect seeing him before, but he looks a mite familiar," said Milton. "Do something," said their wicked daddy. "That cowboy is winning Miss Lurleen's heart." As it turned out, Milton and Dwayne didn't have to do a thing, because Bubba and Miss Lurleen were in the middle of dosey-doing when the clock struck midnight. Suddenly, Bubba's fine duds turned into the dirty rags he usually wore around the ranch. He looked sorry, and he smelled worse. "What's that awful smell?" asked Milton. "Why, it's Bubba!" shouted Dwayne. Bubba turned 14 shades of red, apologized to Miss Lurleen, and ran out of the room. "Wait!" she yelled, chasing after him. But Bubba didn't wait. He jumped on his cow and lumbered off into the night. In the ruckus, he lost one of his dirty cowboy boots. Miss Lurleen grasped it in her arms. "This is the boot of a real cowboy, and the man I want to marry. I aim to find him." Miss Lurleen went back inside, and though she asked everybody at the ball, nobody knew who the mysterious cowboy was. Nobody except Dwayne and Milton and their wicked daddy, that is. But they weren't talking. The next day, Miss Lurleen went from ranch to ranch looking for the cowboy who owned the boot. When she came to Dwayne and Milton's ranch, both brothers tried the boot on, but it didn't fit. Miss Lurleen had just climbed onto her horse to leave when Bubba rode up. He was dirty and sweaty and smelly from working with the cows, and he was only wearing one boot. Miss Lurleen jumped off her horse and ran over to Bubba. "Try this on," she cried. Bubba took his dirty old boot, pulled it on. "Much obliged, ma'am," he said, blushing. It fit perfectly. "You're my prancing cowboy boots," shouted Miss Lurleen. "I'd recognize that smell anywhere. Marry me, cowboy, and help me work my ranch." Dwayne and Milton and their wicked daddy threw chicken fits. But Bubba just smiled, and he and Miss Lurleen rode off into the sunset. They lived happily ever after, roping and cowpoking and getting them doggies along. The end.
Okay, cowpokes, I hope you enjoyed the story, and we're going to move on to our cowboy hat craft now. And I'm going to show you how to draw this cowboy hat, and you can use it for other art projects. So let's take a quick look at what you're going to need to draw your cowboy hat. You're going to need a piece of paper, of course, whatever color you choose. You're really only going to need a ruler and a pencil. Now, I'm going to be using a marker so that you can see what I'm doing when I make the cowboy hat, when I draw it out for you. But you're going to want to use a pencil because you're going to want to erase the dots a little bit later on, and I'll show you what that means. So, in order to draw a cowboy hat, I did a little schematic kind of to start with here. So this shows you the inches and how I measured it all out in order to get the cowboy hat template that I'm going to show you how to draw yourself. Okay, so the way we start is, and I'm not going to use white paper, I'm going to use this kind of beige paper so it's a little bit easier to see. The first thing you're going to do is we're going to find the center of this paper, and the easiest way to do that is to fold it. So you're going to fold in half. You just match up your edges. So fold it like a book. Okay. Then you're going to fold it again, top to bottom or bottom to top, however you want to do it. Okay. So once you have it folded, when you open it, you're going to have a fold going up and a line going across. You can call it an XY axis, whatever you choose. Okay. And that's where we're going to start. So this is our center, and we're just going to make dots along the lines here, the fold, and then that's will be kind of a dot to dot project is what we're doing here, because we're just going to make dots along and join them up to make the cowboy hat. Okay, so first you find your center, and again, you're going to be using a pencil so you can erase the dots later, but I'm using a marker so that you can follow along pretty easily. Okay, so from our center, we're just going to make some dots along this fold here and use this line as your guide. Okay, and we're going to go out 3 inches to the side along the dot on either side. Okay, so 1 dot there can come over. And it doesn't have to be perfect. If you have a child who doesn't quite know how to use a ruler just yet, it's really easy. You can count fingers or hands. So just so long as your dots are kind of an equal distance apart, so that your cowboy hat looks kind of even, okay? So now just 3 dots is all we have. So we went out 3 inches this way, 3 inches over to the left. Okay, so then you go from your dot that you made on either side, and we're going to go out 2 inches. So you're going to go almost to the edge of your paper. Okay, 2 inches. We're going to go almost to the edge because the cowboy hat's pretty big. Okay, so as long as if you want to measure fingers, you can measure fingers, or you can use your ruler. Okay, so that's it so far. Just a few dots along that line going this way. Now what we're going to do is we're going to use this axis here, this line here, and make some dots going up and down. So from that center dot, now you're going to come down 2 inches. Okay, about 2 inches there. And it doesn't have to be perfect. Remember, it's art. Okay, and then you're going to come down from there another 2 inches, almost to the edge of the paper going down. Okay, we just have dots. That's it. Okay, then going up this way, you're going to go up 3 inches. Start at 3 and go to 1. That's the same thing. And again, if you want to just measure your hand or something like that, that's perfectly okay. Okay, now we're going to start lining up the dots to make our cowboy hat. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is just draw a line right here, those first few dots we made, right along that line that we folded. Okay, now, pretty simple so far, right? Now what you're going to do is start here, and you're going to come down and make a happy face from this dot to this dot, but you're going to hit this dot on the way. Does that make sense? So all we're going to do is a happy face, just a half circle. We're going to go from here, hit that dot, and go back up to this dot. Are you ready? Here we go. Okay? Now we're going to do the same thing, going from this dot to this dot. And hitting this dot on the way, we're going to make a big, big happy face, just like we did before, only this one's bigger. It's part of the brim, okay? Big happy face. Now, to make the curvy part of the hat brim, okay, these two dots that we used before, we're going to use those again. We're going to make a sad face to make this part of the hat, okay? So we're just gonna go up, and it doesn't have to be even, doesn't have to be perfect. Cowboy hats, you know, they get used and kind of warped and, you know, smashed around a little bit. So if it's not exactly the same, that's perfectly okay. So big sad face from dot to dot. Over here, big sad face, dot to dot, and there you have it. So we have our brim. Okay, now we're going to do the top part of the cowboy hat, and we're going to make it kind of like almost like a broken heart kind of a sad face here. So we're going to go from this dot to this dot, but we're going to go up above the dot, okay, up above the dot to make it look like the top part of the cowboy hat, okay? So here we go. So you're going to go up and kind of over and down, okay? And then you go from this dot and you're going to go up and over and down. And there's your cowboy hat. Now, you can cut this out. You can do whatever you want to it. We're going to add some little marks here to make it look more like a hat, make it look like this is curved. Come down here this way. We're going to add a hat band too. So if you curve this line just a little bit, make that look like a hat band, and there is your cowboy hat. You can make it out of white paper and color it, or you can make it out of construction paper. I'm going to show you a really quick picture of a pink cowboy hat that I did and kind of made it look like Miss Lurleen because I got carried away, as you do. So let's take a look at the Miss Lurleen that I created.
And as you can see with Miss Lurleen here, I made a cowboy hat out of pink construction paper and then added a face and gave her some poofy Miss Lurleen hair and even used some of the leftover pink construction paper to make her a neckerchief. So that's just an example of what you can do with your cowboy hat once you have it made. You can also add a picture of yourself and give yourself a 10-gallon cowboy hat.
I hope you had fun today with our Texas-sized story time and craft. Now, get along, little doggy. Till next time.